Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats, folks, for your daily live updates. Get the most out of today's episode by participating in the chat. Make sure you ask some questions, be part of the conversation, have a bit of fun, grab a coffee or a tea, take some notes, and get ready to start your day, folks. Quick few housekeeping rules, though. No spamming, no advertising or self-promotion in the chat. That's not on. Be kind and respectful to everyone when participating. And most of all, have a good time. Real estate investing can be your biggest asset. It also can be your most expensive asset when it comes to getting it right or getting it wrong, folks. It can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Hey, good morning, folks.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat.
Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are.
There it is, team. Morning. Morning, wherever you're tuning in from today.
Early bird gets the worm, they say. Here at Positive, we offer a 6-star team. It's a team that help you at every stage of your wealth creation journey.
Morning, folks. Morning, as the sun beams down on my face this morning. There you go. Last 5 seconds before we are live. That's right, we are live. But happy Wednesday. Morning to everyone that's tuning in this morning. 19th of November. Time is flying, isn't it? Feels like yesterday it was kind of the start of the year and we were planning out 2025, and we're sort of into that, part of the year where we're actually reviewing what we've done, what's gone on, and perhaps what 2026 looks like. But welcome along if it's your first time to Wealth Coffee Chats for a Wednesday. My name is Sjostedt, representing the Property Management Group, part of your 6-star team here on a Wednesday. And what the Wednesday sessions are about, team, is unpacking all those challenges that you might encounter, a lot of landlords encounter for that matter, around, holding, retaining tenants, your property, your maintenance, your rent reviews, income levels, all that sort of stuff. This is what we do here on a Wednesday to try and solve the problem together across the industry and, help everyone hold their real estate for a little bit longer. So if we can do that, we'll certainly hit some goals. And a few of you guys are joining already. Justin, morning to you, mate. Hope you guys have been well. And Margaret as well. Thanks for joining in as always and participating in the chat, guys. You know how this works with me. The more you guys throw out some questions and some banter in the chat, the better I will go. So don't leave me hanging in that space. If you're tuning in from anywhere, awesome this morning. Love to hear where you guys are coming in from, because this morning, team, as always, bit of an insight from my perspective anyway. Here's how landlords avoid stress in the first 100 days of ownership, because for me, I work with a lot of clients, as you guys know, across particularly the eastern seaboard of Australia. And traditionally what we've been doing over the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years is working with a lot of new development. And whether it's your first investment that you've purchased, even might be your third or fourth. When it comes to leasing in new development, that first 100 days can be quite scary. It can be quite uncertain for a lot of landlords and property managers for that matter. And so this morning's conversation is to unpack that insight together and see if we can come up with a solution or two. A few more comments in the chat. Oh, Caroline's on here. Stress. Jeff, g'day, mate. No stress. Yes, actually, talking about stress, Jeff, that is one thing we're going to talk about this morning. The first 100 days of ownership, here's how you avoid stress. No joke. I actually wrote it down on my sheet. So Jeff knows what's going on in my brain this morning. Welcome along, Jeff. Always good to have you here. And everyone else for that matter. So, team, first investment, third investment, irrelevant today, but I just want to sort of shout out to anyone in the marketplace at the moment. You might have just purchased your first property. Maybe you're in the process of contracts, you're awaiting that settlement and or handover date. The team at the moment, we've got a big project in Melbourne coming up, and this is quite relevant for those clients as well. Because here's what I know: when you settle a property that you've purchased, and here's what the first 100 days looks like. A lot of clients I've worked with over the last 15 years in my career, the first 100 days is quite stressful. It's generally frustrating, it's quite uncertain, and it's due generally to a lack of planning and a lack of information, because potentially sometimes the team around you, what they're communicating, or maybe lack of communication for that matter. And so when we go into settlement handover, there's a range of different things we need to account for. There's the things we need to plan for. There are things we need to get done, right? There's different reporting and things like that. And of course, in that moment, we're looking to just get the property leased. We're looking to generate that first level of cash flow to cover that first mortgage payment is generally what I see in the marketplace. And from my perspective, kind of what we tend to go into and create strategies for is to have this mindset of, running a business with our investment properties, setting it up for success rather than having that mindset of charity, so to speak, and no plan. No plan doesn't get you anywhere, team. And as Jeff mentioned, if you don't have a plan, you will create stress in your life. And what we're about is avoiding that. So here's what landlords tend to do. Because when you do settle your first property in that first 100 days, there are a number of things we need to account for, need to budget for, need to plan for, because there's some costs and some investment that you as a landlord need to make for your investment property. And here's what we know. We know that when we talk about long-term investing, we're talking 15, 20 plus years, as Sam and the team will talk about. Most of the investors I see across the country from a property management level are traders, right? They do this for 1, 2, 3 years, give up, and they sell the property, and then another investor comes in and the cycle starts again, is generally what we observe in the marketplace. So it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market, and your property manager's job, if we can set up that first 100 days really well, it's going to help you keep in the market into the future, because what you do at the start will affect the rest of your tenancy depending on how long the tenant is there for. So, why do people give up? Well, it could be cash flow, a range of other reasons, right? But here's what we generally see in the first 100 days. Now, let's use an example that we've got at the moment. We've got a number of clients who have bought apartments. They're off the plan. They've been waiting 1, 2, 3 years for the build to complete, and they're now coming up for completion. And so obviously for the last little time period, haven't had to pay anything in terms of holding costs, which has been great. But for the time now, when settlement's due 1 to 2 weeks into the month of December, which is coming into Christmas, we've got some things that we can control. We've got some things that we can't control, right? And what I see go really well for clients in the first 100 days is when they do a few of these things, because we've got to remember first months. I want to talk about the first month repayment that you need to make as the landlord, right? We all know when that's going to happen. But generally, the question I guess is, should I have a buffer? Or maybe a lot of landlords don't have buffers to begin with, and that first month's repayment comes out of the bank account and we don't have any rent. Now, the reason why that generally happens a lot of the time is because you're waiting for settlement. You get the keys. It takes 24 to 48 hours, depending on how quick your property managers are, to get your property from handover to on the market, because we now have access to the property to showcase that property. And so there's a couple of days gone already where you're not generating a dollar. And then even if the campaign works really well, which what we talk about here on Wealth Coffee Chats, and we lease that property in 14 days, okay, and we get that first, couple weeks or months rent deposit, generally speaking, the tenant doesn't necessarily always move in 2 weeks post settlement. It might be 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks post handover. And the main reason why, team, is that depending on which state or territory your investment properties are, let's use Victoria as an example, renters need to give 28 days notice to their current place of of their current rental property and their current property manager there. And so they've got 28 days notice they've got to give. They're going to have a buffer to switch across to you, which means you're not going to necessarily have that income flowing in month one. So we always say to landlords, make sure you have a buffer for at least that first month's rent. You want to make sure we understand that. So if you plan for that, you've got a good budget around that, you tend to have a little bit less stress in your life than thinking that first month's rent is going to always cover that first mortgage repayment in that space. Now, there's other things as landlords that we do to keep safe and that we always get done for clients. You want your depreciation schedule, which could be $600, $700, $800, depending on the company you work with. Your defect report, $300, $400, $500, depending on where you're going with that. Landlord's insurance, right? $300 to $400, depending on your policy. And then if you've bought a house and land package or just a house in general, you need building insurance. Then of course there's going to be a few more $100 on the tail end of that insurance policy per year. And then your property manager comes in and we've got to do some marketing. We've got to get some photos, some virtual tools, all the things we talk about on here. And that's another $400 or $500. And now we've just got on the market. Right, so you've been kept safe. We've set up some frameworks, and now we're going to this place to get the property leased. And so when you look at what that costs in that first 2 to 4 weeks for you as a landlord of ownership, we're up around that $5,000 mark very, very quickly in terms of the investment and cost that we need to make to get the property tenant ready, so to speak, on market. So there's some things in there where, if we've got a plan and we're budgeting around, you got the right team and advice around you with your coaching team, then you're going to be okay. But what I see is a lot of landlords go into this not aware, not having the information, with no plan, and they get themselves in a bit of strife, and all of a sudden, we're in a bit of trouble. Now, you can use the example we're using this morning. We've got an off the plan property. We are now coming up to settlement. There's other things that we can't control, right? We can control our budgeting. We can control the financial side of things. What we can't control is how many in the building are coming up for lease. We can't control, in master plans, the ongoing construction and disturbance potentially for the renters at that point in time. So we've got to factor that in. If we're making poor selections on who our property managers might be, then again, that's going to have a significant influence to what your first 100 days looks like. And then ultimately, the result that you come across, or that the outcome you find yourself in, is that there's more vacancy. So your vacancy time is increased. Therefore, you're producing little to no cash flow, obviously. And then generally what we see is less than market rent achieved, which is unfortunate at that time if you find yourself in that situation. So I guess my point today is, guys, team, have an understanding of what that first 100 days looks like between your coaching team, your property management team, what goes on around settlement, because it is really critical, and I see it time and time again. Most people don't bat an eyelid over it, and then we get ourselves in a situation where we're wondering what's going on. So what I can tell you is that when the way I like to explain it, and maybe you guys will tell me in the chat if you have a different perspective, but I like to sort of advise clients and go along the concept of, that first month's rent that we're going to generate really quickly from a great leasing campaign is going to go towards your investment into, your allowance, insurance, and your marketing. If you can think about it like that. Okay, we want to do a really good leasing campaign, generate that cash flow, and then put that cash flow to the expenses and the investment that we need to obviously set our property up for success into the future. So that's kind of one of the things you want to do, because when you have a plan, like I say, you stay on track, and when you don't, you create stress in your life in that first 100 days, and you think it's all gone wrong, but it hasn't, team. It just comes back to the plan in that space. So, following on from that, once you do get your first tenant, you've got to also understand, and you want to be aware of, when's that first disbursement coming? How frequent is the rent going to be paid and hitting my bank account? So then you guys can obviously forward track and budget for, your loan repayments, whether they're mid-month, end of month, whatever it might be, in that space. Rates redirection, understanding when the first routine inspection is. So there's a bit of a, 10, 12, 15 point checklist, if you like, on what that 100 days of ownership should look like. But I can tell you, team, most landlords don't go about it in the right way, and they wonder why they've got some stress in their life. Jeff's jumped in here as well. He looks after his tenants. Don't turn them over. Maybe rent is slightly lower, but no vacancy. Absolutely, Jeff. What we do know, and what Jeff and I have been through, is that sometimes the first tenancy is generally the most frustrating one. But once we get that tenant in with a plan, we find in year 2, year 3, we start to see those rent increases come through, regardless of market rent growth or not, for that matter. So there's a bit of method to the madness. Jeff knows all about it. And, you can sort of see here Jeff's example. Toowong was great for him. He said on the 19th September and on the 1st of October, straight away. It was a good deal, that one. Jeff, great position in Brisbane, the Toowong deal. So, team, like I say, probably to Jeff's success, there was a plan in place. He had the right team around him, and all things being equal, it went really well. So when it goes well, it does go really well. And when there's no plan, like I say, I can't stress it highly enough. So that's my 2 cents this morning. Have a plan. Understand that first 100 days of ownership. If you need a review on what those 100 days, the first 100 days of ownership looks like, you can comment below. You can send me an email, and I'll certainly give you guys a hand and point you in the right direction of what that might look like. There's the email down the bottom. But before I go, don't forget, if you're around Melbourne or Brisbane tonight, there is pop-up mentoring. So I think the links might be in the Facebook group, team, or reach out to your coaching team. They'll certainly give you the links to register if you haven't already. You've got some special guests there. I think Melbourne's being hosted by the one and only Sam Sagers and Jason Whitten up in Brisbane. So come along, hang out with the coaching team. A bunch of the 6-star team will be there as well. And you can hang out with Jason, Sam, and the crew. So hope to see you guys there. I'll be at the Brisbane one for anyone tuning in, listening to this. Otherwise, we will see you again tomorrow, 8:10 Queensland time, for the financial planning team. Will be back. And I'm sure we'll grab another lesson or two. So, but thanks for the banter in the chat, team. Thanks for playing full out. I will say bye for now. See you at pop-up mentoring tonight.
Thanks for watching another episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our other podcasts from the 6-star team here at positivementor.com.au.